Good evening to one and all present here. I, Shashwati Kannan, executive at ESL IIT Madras, would take this opportunity to welcome you all to a panel discussion under the name Thinker to Tycoon, a journey from the lab to the market. We have amongst us two power-packed panelists, Mr. Pradeep Janakiraman, founder of Drive Analytics, and Mr. Rajat Agarwal, founder of DreamVu Inc. So to just give a brief introduction, this event is brought to you by ESL IIT Madras in collaboration with the Career Development Cell Research Wing of IIT Madras. ESL organizes and aims to foster entrepreneurship among our institute community as well as across the nation. So this event is one that caters especially to the PG community. We are aiming to address the problem of bridging the gap between the research idea and making it into a commercial project or a product. So I would like to call the CDC-R research wing head, Mr. Pragyan, to give a brief introduction and welcome the panelists.
Thank you, Shashwati. I am the core at CDC-R. CDC-R, as Shashwati said, we stand for Career Development Research, and our motto is mainly to educate research scholars and create awareness about the various career opportunities available to them in terms of the various industry placements, academia, or entrepreneurship. So I am Pragyan, so I'll be handling the entrepreneurship wing of Career Development Cell Research, and this event, like Shashwati said, we had done it in collaboration with ESL so that we could bring about some amount of clarity among the research scholars from other research scholars like Pradeep sir and Rajat sir, who have already were already a part of research community and have taken the research forward and converted that into their wonderful startups. So we welcome you, sir, for this opportunity, and we thank you for joining. So yeah, I think we can start, Shashwati. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Pragyan.
Thank you.
So to begin with, Mr. Pradeep Janakiraman is the founder of Drive Analytics. Founded in November 2016, Drive Analytics is a computer vision or AI solutions company that excels in deep analysis of visual data to solve real-world problems. The startup has many accolades to its name. For example, it is one among the top 10 startups in Wharton India business competition. And Mr. Pradeep has 3 patents under his name. We are glad to have you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Thank you. Yeah. Nice to meet you all. Yeah.
Mr. Rajat Agarwal is the founder of DreamVu. Founded in March 2017, headquartered in the US and based in Hyderabad, DreamVu is the brainchild of Mr. Rajat Agarwal, and it is driven by a team of computer vision, software, hardware engineers, and scientists. The startup has developed a power and cost-efficient, world's first camera that can capture 360-degree 3D videos in real time. Mr. Rajat Agarwal has about 8 patents under his name. We are glad to welcome you too, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Shashwati, and I'm honored to be part of this program here, and definitely, looking forward to the discussions with Mr. Pradeep as well. I'm obviously meeting him from the very first time.
Yes, I'm meeting Rajat for the first time as well. Yeah.
Nice. And obviously, as a research scholar, you always feel that you could help the community, because when we started the company, and I remember 5 years back, I always had this thought that why should I start the company or not go for PhD? And I'll tell you, okay, when I give my introduction, I want to do PhD and not happen. So yeah, good to be here. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Shashwati and Pragyan.
Yeah, glad to have you too, sir. So without any further ado, let's begin with the discussion. Mm-hmm. So to begin with, Mr. Pradeep and Mr. Rajat, how did your PG studies or your experience out of your PG career that you gained influenced you to become an entrepreneur?
Okay. So this is Pradeep. So let me go first. So see, one of the main things about PG is that you choose an area of specialization that you like, and you go quite deep into finding solutions to problems, right? And the research mindset starts developing when you're in postgraduate program. So, and that's a key aspect of trying to bring a focus to the way you solve problems, right? It's not just completing assignments or getting grades, which is the main focus of the bachelor's degree. But once you get into PG, you do it because you want to do it, right? Nobody's forcing you to get a PG otherwise. So, and that basically once that the problem solving mindset gets into your head, it's something that is in your brain for the rest of your life, right? So you start applying it in every aspect of your career beyond that. So, and that is what prompts you to seek solutions to like problems that are out there. So when you're doing PG, you still are interested in getting a degree. Your professor is trying to ask you to define a problem that you want to solve. You want to write a thesis, you have to write a paper. But when you get into real world, what you want to do is you start identifying what could be the problems that you can solve, what are those interesting things that you can solve, and how you can apply the skills that you have, or how can you research the space to find new solutions to solving those problems. I think that's where the PG degree kind of helps you, move ahead. Right? That's my 2 minutes of this. Yeah, over to Rajat.
No, definitely. I think so. My actually journey did not start from PG. I actually started working on a problem which is the seed for DreamVu during my bachelor's second year as a part of my research. And then I think that mindset that Mr. Pradeep has just told us, that, the problem solving mindset, I think it came a little bit early to me. And that mindset came in my second year, and I completed my fourth year. By the time I already had the product built. Okay. And then I thought, okay, if I already have this built, why do I have to go to Carnegie Mellon or MIT to kind of, do my PhD and all? Why can't I just, extend my bachelor's into my master's? And that's how I actually got involved into PG program. So I converted my degree into bachelor's, to master's. But I think once you get into that zone, that, once you get into that problem solving zone, and obviously we extend into this, okay, after PG, you'll get into PhDs and doctorate and all those things. I think that's the difference, because if somebody is able to take a problem statement and, are able to kind of drill it and then kind of try to solve it as much as possible, because to solve a problem, you need a lot of time, a lot of energy. Okay. You can't just say that, okay, if I'm spending like 6 months or 1 year, I'll be able to solve this problem, because if that's such an easy task, then it won't be a problem, right? There are 1 million, there are 100 million people other than you who can actually go and solve that problem. That's not a problem anymore, right? I think identification of problem is very important, which you can solve. Okay. And while I know, like, I have my friends and, all of my colleagues, everyone has their own skill set, which I think in the PG time, and, I come from IIIT Hyderabad. And that's where I think we learn that we need to find our niche area. Okay. You can do PG, you can think about doing a PG. Okay. And also, try to solve that problem and do a PhD. But I think you also need to find your niche area where you think that, you can actually kind of solve it. And it's not about, and I don't think entrepreneurship, when I think about entrepreneurship, it's very much kind of interlinked with this thing. Entrepreneurship is nothing but problem solving every day, right? I think when we wake up till the time we go to bed in the night, I feel like every second is like a new problem, which we have to kind of solve innovatively and, try to find out different kind of solutions, which are, and obviously with the people together, right? So I feel that apart from getting into the problem mindset, I think finding your niche is very important, which, obviously we know that in our college, we used to do a lot of kind of exploration. if this is the field that I want to go in, or this is the field that I want to go in. I come from computer science. I know that most of the computer science people, when they get into computer science, 50% of us will feel like, okay, we were never made for computer science or electronics, right? We were like, okay, I want to do art, I want to do media and all those things. That happens, that's how the culture is. But I think if we are able to find a niche area and then do the problem solving and, apply it, I'm just adding my thoughts into what Pradeep said. I think that kind of influences you that, okay, now this is my passion, able to solve a problem, okay? And if this problem is actually very, very critical for the other 100 million population in the world, okay, entrepreneurship is the way. You can go and sell out there, right? So these are my thoughts.
Sure. Okay. So to you, Mr. Pradeep,
Yeah.
while heading the engineering team at a big data analytics startup, you realized that there weren't enough solutions in that space to cater to the kind of features that were required while designing a proposal. You said, and I quote, "Finding a good problem to solve is always a great way to start up." This market gap or problem prompted you to craft the idea for your startup venture. So how exactly did you identify the gap, and what made you think that the bridge could lead to a startup?
Well, see, so yeah, brought it up. So when you are either problem, you start thinking of problems, or problems come to you in some way, and you need to find a solution to the problems, and then you start thinking that not solved so far, and how many people are trying to solve it, and here is an opportunity, right? If you solve it properly, there is a big opportunity. So the way it happened was that when we were in that company, I was heading engineering, and it was a text analytics company, and we were in the mainstream text analytics, right? We're doing recommendations and all that, big data. And this RFP is like request for proposal, right? So it came from a Australian company. It was for the police department, Tasmania. And they required lots and lots of computer vision based features. Like they wanted to analyze criminal records, analyze footage of scenes that happened, crime scenes that happened, be able to analyze criminals and all that, right? So I mean, nowadays there are plenty of solutions out there, right? If you take fast forward 2019, 2020, like you can just get it done with some Google Colab, just go there and you get a solution. But back in 2014, 2015, these things were like very new, right? So that's when I realized, I was looking around and people were using old, if you're into vision, you will understand that they were like the world of computer vision has totally changed from 2015, 2016 to the last 4 years. The kind of research and the progress that has happened is unprecedented. Things that have happened in 50 years happened in 4 years, literally. How AI and GPUs transform the whole space, right? So that's what basically prompted me to think that, okay, so if you get into it early now, if you start doing this, you will be able to carve out a niche for yourself. And that was the whole mindset with which I started started up, right? So I got a bunch of people and I said, okay, we should do this. And luckily for me, usually when you leave a startup company, people, the first thing that they think is they should flag, they wave the NDA back to you and say, you might be violating something and all that. And I left on good terms. And in fact, I got funded by the CEO, the COO, and the CTO of the company, right? So they were my first angels who put in money, actually. So that was like a big boost for me. So within 6 months, I was able to build the prototype, and they said, yeah, there's a value in it. And that's how we started our journey. And then we won the Wharton award, and then we kept moving on. So I think the thing is, you have to believe in yourself, think that there is a problem deep enough that you can dig in. And that you should start seeing a niche, like you should be able to see 2 years, 3 years ahead. I think that's the kind of thing that you require. So having that, I mean, even in your thesis, right? What happens is 3 years into your master's or into your PhD program, you keep doing more and more academic work or research work, but the exact problem statement will not crystallize. At some point, you will get that thing, and the professor will say, okay, this is it, and now you go solve it, and then you solve it. And after that, the writing of the thesis will happen in 3-4 months. But the thing is, getting that exact crisp problem to solve is very important. So So I think to cut a long story short, yeah. So you need to be able to think through and see that there is an opportunity out there and be able to fearlessly go into that.
Yes, sir.
Is the audio okay? I mean, I'm sometimes I see some cut in the audio. So okay,
fine,
good,
yeah.
good. Okay, fine.
It's fine,
Thanks.
sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to you, Mr. Rajat, like, it's very rare for a person to have his passion as a profession. You seem to be one among the few, as your master thesis laid the stepping stone for DreamVu. As you just said now, uh, you had your idea crafted in your second year of undergrad. So perhaps in your case, what was your strategy to convert your research idea or your undergrad idea to a commercial product?
So, yeah, I think for me, personally speaking, I thought of when I started doing the research, and when I actually was in that academic zone, I never thought that I'd be building it as a company and it will be like a idea which can actually be we can actually see those cameras and in reality. uh, Obviously I didn't have any idea. I was very young, very like a small kid in second year, knows nothing about the world. But I think as soon as we kind of kept on doing more and more and more and more, I think after 3 years down the line, then what happened is that, hey, now my plan was that, okay, I patented the technology, we have a prototype built, the camera is working, and we actually cracked 20-year long standing problem. Okay, so there were people out there, there were academicians who were kind of trying to build this camera like during late 1990s. And then there were new kind of cameras coming up from Google, Facebook, all those big companies. And we were sitting in India, and we were like, hey, we will be able to compete with the research minds of Stanford and MIT and all those places. Obviously, they have more funds than what we typically have in universities from India. And obviously, we have but I want to name a few so that people in the call right now they can understand. There are Google Research Fellowships, Microsoft Fellowships, all those things you can. Okay, and you get decent grants. Like you get about 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs for one project. If your paper is accepted into A plus or A star kind of conferences, like I got a couple of them. And that's how we started kind of funding the project. And because for me it was a hardware thing, okay, and I'm coming from a computer science background, so I knew nothing about the hardware. Okay, so see, my passion was always like I just want to learn. That's it. That was my idea. Okay, and because my idea was that, okay, I always want to learn new things. So it was like, okay, see, I am a computer science guy. I know how to program, how to do programming. Okay, you don't teach me that. Okay, but now I don't know how to build a hardware. Okay, let me go and explore that part. So that's how I got into hardware, and then that's into optics. That, okay, I went on with my faculty and said that, okay, hey, I want to do something in optics, and he was kind of building up that idea at that point of time. Professor Anoop from IIIT. And then we both kind of started thinking about it, and we had more people in the project. So that's how, and then we kind of built it. After 3 years, we said, hey, we have this now. What do we do with this? Okay. And my faculty asked me that, what's your plan? I said, hey, I want to go and do PhD. That was always my plan. And obviously for PhD, if I backtrack, to get a very good PhD or the admissions in the good universities in the US or Europe, I need some good papers, right? And I did this project. Now I have some good papers. I think I can just write my GRE and then go for PhD. But then he said, no, that's not the only thing that you can do right now, because you have this thing. There's always more things to do in entrepreneurship and all those things. And this is actually, and I think that was the time when I actually started thinking out of my academia that this problem or this camera can actually be used by somebody in the real world. Okay. And I think that is what I call as an inflection point to whatever we say today, that, from research lab to market. That's the inflection point. I think we all are sitting here, we all can write papers. Okay. Obviously, it takes some time, but I think what we all lack is the understanding that this is just a problem in the world of academia, or this is actually a problem which 100 million people are facing right now. Okay. And that's the difference. Your professor will tell you, hey, this is a nice problem. We can come up with some bottom-up problem statements and we say that, okay, let's solve this and you'll get a paper. But what's the impact of that paper? I think we have to understand that. Writing papers is easy, but actually converting them or writing papers onto something which is actually impactful for the world is the inflection point for all this idea. There's nothing like that. So anybody who is looking for, going to the market, I think we need to start from the market, not from the lab. Okay. Lab is where, yes, you will do the innovation. Lab is the only place where you can do the innovation for that problem. But then the problem has to come from the market. Right now, I think most of the startups fail from going from lab to market is when they find a problem in the lab, they find a solution in the lab, and then they go to the market, right? We have to change that model. We have to always think like, okay, what's the problem in the market? Let's find a solution in the lab. Okay, then I think it's going to be a very, very smooth transition for anybody who is in their PG program and who is into the research and doing, because see, if big companies could solve these problems, we would never have startups, right? Startups are there because we are a small team who can actually, being out of this big fuzz from the Googles and the big companies, in the small room, we can innovate and come up with a product in whatever, 6 months, 9 months, whatever, right? Whereas doing and implementing the same thing between all the politics, all the logistics, operations, and all those things will take years and years, right? I think that's why the startups are made. And I think if I downsample this thing, we can do this thing in the lab, right? That's where the whole innovation, the technology, the IP has to be built and found out, right? But I think for us, the challenge was, and then, when we go to the market and we say that, hey, there is no product market fit. How will you have a product market fit? Because if you're solving a problem which was generated by your faculty in just sitting in lab, right? The problem has to come from the market. You have to find a solution and innovate in the lab and then go back to the market again. I think that should be the model.
Thanks to your thanks to
Shashwati, I just had a follow-up question because they talked about working in small teams for a. So, sir, like this is a question for both of you because both of you addressed that to an extent. So when you say that you worked with a small team, because in labs usually when research scholars work, how they work is they work alone on a particular problem. They don't work in a team. So how did you go about like building a team from somewhere, like from a problem that you did on your own? So like how was the journey there? Like how did you get your team? Like that is a question that I see a lot of people asking whenever we like conduct such events. That how do you get a team? Because in like UG community it becomes a little easier as they're like closely knit. But PG community is more like solving your own problem, sitting in the lab doing it on your own. It's like a little more of a alone journey. So if you can address that, like to some extent, how you actually can find your team, probably.
See, the thing is, let me tell you. See, I started my career at the Watson Labs, right? So my first job was with IBM TJ Watson. That was in the US. Everybody around me was a researcher. Like everybody was a PhD, right? And like name it, right? MIT, Stanford, Berkeley. So these were the guys everywhere, right? So that forced me also to get a PhD, and I was also in the PhD program for a while. But it doesn't mean that everybody is an individual contributor. There are people who are individual contributors, individual scientists, even in Watson Labs, and there are people who work as a group towards solving a problem, right? So the group activity is there everywhere, right? So you can't just innovate on your own in isolation, right? That's very rare. You don't get chances to do things like that. That's one thing. The other thing is, just because you have a problem to solve, you see a niche area, entrepreneurship is a little different. It's a little backbreaking, right? So you have to shoulder a lot more responsibilities than just solving a problem. Hiring a team is about inspiring people to believe in you, right? That is very important. Just because you have a problem, you might not be able to inspire somebody. You should be able to inspire four other people who should also be willing to work with you and see the value in, like, it's not enough if you believe in the problem, right? So others should also believe in it, and then you should get it validated, right? So where do you get your validations? Like Rajat just said, you need to get your validations from the market, and that has to happen, right? So you put the horse in front of the cart. So you have to get the validation and then build out the team. So you can't just go in isolation and just solve the problem, build a team, and then you go to the market and find that, my product doesn't fit the market. So that is one thing. So having a problem, having a market is all one thing, but building it, skills. Not all researchers become writers. I think we should touch upon that as a separate aspect in this discussion at some point. I know so many of them who are happy to be researchers, who never would go out of a research lab, or even if they went back to a Facebook research or a Google research, they want to just keep writing papers, go into conferences, keep publishing. They don't want to build teams or their own products. That requires a different mindset, actually. So, I don't know if I adequately answered it. Yeah, over to Rajat.
I'll go next. So I have I think, so it's been 3 years for us in DreamVu, okay? Every year when we have our yearly anniversary, to, do the share, that मैं अकेले ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल मगर लोग आए और कारवां बनता गया, right? So I think that crux, and as Pradeep said that, entrepreneurs, hey, I'm building this thing, this is a camera. 90% of them will say that, okay, they will not even be very happy about it, or they won't be well, until like say that, okay, he's doing such a great job, until and unless I have a A-star paper. That's how the world works, right? So I think so there are two parts to it. One is that, yes, I should be able to tell people that, hey, this is what I'm doing. And I believe that people to your car, right? And if people who will be urgent, who will say that, yes, I want to come into the bus from this point and I want to go with you point A to point B, right? The driver, you'll be able to bring everyone on board onto that bus. The second thing is, like, if you are not able to do this, right, you need to build a set of team around you, and and then they do the groundwork, right? Because yes, I completely agree that it was very hard, and I can tell you from my experience, it was very hard for me, and obviously this was my first time startup. I was coming from a completely an academic background, okay, and I didn't know, and obviously my family is a businessman, so I know what to do in business and all those things. But if you ask me that, okay, you have to sell this thing, I will just say, whatever the paragraphs that I've written in my research paper. So just writing a paper is a different thing, but actually selling it to someone is a different thing. And I think we have a myth in the world also that, technical guys cannot do it. I don't believe so. I think we are the most qualified to understand that part. because yes, we are more smart in terms of understanding that okay, what's the how do we what is the problem the other guy is facing, and then how do we kind of communicate that to them. So I think if any of the PG student or the research scholar, they are thinking that they want to go into this part, and they should start talking to at least 10 people about their idea every day without a miss.
Hello, can I ask something?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, hi Arup.
Hello. So this is just a follow-up question. So did you have the right people around you, like since you were in UG, right? So in second year, so when you started with your product and by fourth year you said you were almost ready. So
you have eCell, right? There might be many joiners of eCell. When I got into, okay, I just called my best friend and then said, hey, I want to start this company. Do you want to be my co-founder? Okay, and handle all the business aspect of it. Okay, because I'm the technical guy. I'm going to just take on the technical role. And you are more like a business minded. So they want to jump onto this thing. Okay, and that's how we started. And you would recognize like his name is Rohan Bhatyal. He's my co-founder. He's still in the company, right? So we're working together. We both are the co-founders. So, and I think that's where it started, right? At least for me. But there are different models, right? You have to just find right people, who you believe that in your network, whom you want to work with. It's because it's going to be a journey, okay? And I believe, and maybe I'm going too much philosophical, but startup between co-founders is nothing less than a marriage, okay? And definitely in the early days. So just like you're gonna find somebody to whom you think that you go and maybe you can date her, right? Similarly, you should be able to find somebody that okay, you may want to. So it's like dating. That's it. You have to be loyal. You have to be responsible. You have to be kind of understanding, communicative. That kind of a relationship should be there, right? So that's how you need to find people.
thank
I
you.
think Shashwat is having some net issues, so I'll just address that. Oh, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about the connection.
Okay.
Yeah. So continuing from where you left, Mr. Rajat, thanks to Mr. Anup, your prof, who pushed you forward that we have a young entrepreneur amidst us. So we all know that an in-house project suddenly cannot appear on the market. How did you manage to get the vitamin M, or what we call funding? Did you get any government aids, or how did you attract private investors?
Okay. So for us, because triple IT always backed us. Okay, so that's how we got our very first funding from triple IT CIE, which is the equivalent of eCell in triple IT Hyderabad. And that was a very just a $15,000 kind of funding. But then we took that and then we launched our headquarters in the US, because for us the market was completely out of India. We like in India we can't see a lot of modern cameras. Somebody buying $5,000 worth of camera, just for the personal use right now. But in US, yes, they do, right? So we knew all that, and we thought, okay, US is gonna be place. Okay, we moved to the US. Okay, and then that's where so all and to the second point, Arup, we lived in one room, 3 people in one room in the Bay Area, which was actually rented by our friends Google at the time, right? So while we were completing our project, our PG, obviously they got placed in Facebook, Google, in Mountain View, all those things. And then, hey, we thought, okay, let's go and, we'll live with you. So we had such a nice group who allowed us to be with them. Stayed. We kind of lived with them for 1.5 years, and that's where we, that was our like a garage place for us, from where we bootstrapped everything. Okay, obviously we didn't pay any rent. We couldn't pay any rent because we didn't have any funding. And when we were there, then we found out our very first seed investor in the US. So that was at least our story. And then, yeah, and then since then, obviously, then we started launching the cameras into the market.
Yeah. So, Mr. Pradeep, Drive Analytics offers brand exposure and sponsorship ROI metrics for leading sports league events such as IPL. I am a CSK fan. So, Mr. Pradeep, we would like to know what exactly goes when predicting these metrics, because it's the IPL season now.
Well, actually, I should tell you that part of the business we ventured and it was acquired. So, and we had a non-compete for a while. So there's a lot of water under the bridge since we were doing that. Maybe it still shows on the, I don't think it's still there on the website either. So we did that. We did a lot of that in 2016, 17. And that part of the team was actually acquired. So yes, and had a non-compete for, so we couldn't do that for obvious reasons, right? So then we actually switched over. So we're doing some other stuff right now. But if your question is regarding sports and what is brand exposure, I can explain that. So what can you rephrase your, what is your actual question? So I could probably address that.
Yeah, we would just like you to give a gist on how your solution structure works, and
okay,
how you provide.
Right. See, the problem is like this, right? So there's a lot of money that goes into sports sponsorships. It's a big business, right? So like plenty of money riding on sports business. Everybody is dying to get their ad on Virat Kohli's bat or, Dhoni's t-shirt or whatever, right? So that's like the business. Everybody is trying to get their brand logo onto that. But the logos are so tiny, right? And you put their logos on stumps, you put it on you call it the Toblerone, right? The boundary ropes, which are all really small. You cannot even see them if you're in the stadium, right? You can't see the stumps. You can't see the DLF that is painted on the stumps. You can't see the Yarcell that is painted on the somewhere else, right? On the helmet or something. You can see all of this only on TV, right? So that's where the money is actually. So what happens is there's plenty of money for media rights, plenty of sponsorship money riding on this. Ticket collections are very little. So what it means is how many times a brand gets seen on TV broadcast. That's where the money is actually. So people want to measure the ROI of the money that they are sinking into this industry. They're putting millions and millions of dollars into sports sponsorships, sponsoring people, players. So, and last year they say, okay, this was the cost of putting an ad on Dhoni's bat was X dollars. This year it is 20% more. So there is no science behind it, right? So it used to be like that. Or the side screen, if I put an ad, and this cost you so much. This is like so much width into so much height, and so this is so much money. We can't go by that, right? How many people are seeing it? How many times it's seen? Where all it's, that's how the ROI gets calculated. So to do that, you have to sit and count how many times an ad is seen on the screen. You can't do that, right? People were doing it as a BPO, and it got acquired by Nielsen as well. That was one of the biggest acquisitions in the sports sponsorship measurement space. So then came computer vision, and then we did it in a very short time, and that was of tremendous value actually. So that's how that division got acquired. So we used to do that.
Okay, good to know. So moving on, Mr. Rajat, Golconda or Golden Gate Bridge? How did you choose one and why?
I didn't choose anyone. I have my foot at both the places.
I meant the headquarters.
Both Golden Gateway Bridge and
yeah.
Oh, okay, the headquarters. So I think it's a simple funda. Okay, wherever is your largest market is, right? For us, it was US, so that's why. But because we had the technology roots based out of IIIT and Hyderabad, right? I'm based in Hyderabad, and we have built the team around here. So that's why we have all the engineering team, everything, all the development thing happens here, right? Only the sales and all those things happen in the US.
Okay. So, Mr. Rajat, it's been about 4 years that you've flourished in the Indian market. What do you think are the pros and cons of withstanding a startup in India in a more of a business perspective?
Yeah, I would say.
This question is to both of you. I would like to know your.
We don't have. Yeah, I would like maybe Mr. Pradeep to answer that, because he has maybe more experience with the Indian market. We don't have that much experience with the Indian market, and also getting like a lot of aids in the India. Definitely, there are a lot of funding opportunities, but not as high as what we see in the United States, right? And especially, a lot of other kind of opportunities where we could apply for the accelerator programs, where we could do the initial funding, because when you are in the initial stages of the product, you don't want to just go for the seed funding, right? There are different kind of, you also need to get, and we have discussed this here, you also need to get the support of different people and the advice from different people, right? So I think all the research ideas should first look into some kind of an accelerator money, which is, very less money, which is like $10,000 or $15,000, so that you can start building up your network. You can start building up your base, start adding data as possible. Okay, go and talk to as many as customers as possible. But in India, I think if if your product is ready for the Indian market, then nothing like that. Right? But I think for the hardware space, there are still some challenges which I think as a country we need to kind of surpass, right? Like the manufacturing. You can't. Yes, now in the last 1 or 2 years, we have seen a lot of manufacturing companies coming into India and then starting their centers, right? Like a simple example, like Apple products have now started to kind of manufacturing in India, right? But if you don't have that, and if you have to import stuff from the other countries like China or Taiwan or Malaysia, then it's very tricky, right? So those kind of things are there, right? Whereas with the other countries, it's kind of a little less objections, right? Yeah. So, but in terms of private investors, definitely there are a lot of options out there. Okay. If you are definitely associated with the top tier universities like IIT Madras, definitely you have e-cell support, right? So you may have a lot of network with different kind of VCs and the angel investors, right? So you can definitely get in touch with those people through your department's e-cell, right? And I think that's the right track, because that's how you can start building. And because you are from I would say that's the only brownie point that you have apart from your IP, right? So you're going to be use that for building your network, for building of how we can get the funding, or kind of, because there are a lot of things out there. There are a lot of opportunities in terms of if it's a defense related project, or if it's just like for that matter, like now we all are in COVID, right? If your project is related to COVID, projects which are coming up through government money, which you can apply for and can get your startup or company or your project idea funded through that, right? So you just need to be a little bit active and see what's out there. But there are definitely tons of opportunities in India as well.
Yeah, so I would add to that. There is always a structured approach. If you're looking for funding, I think the first thing to start with, um, I think the best thing that you have on your side is the pedigree, right? So if you're from a good university, people look for that. Whatever presentations you do, wherever you go, they'll ask for the team slide and they'll ask for who you are, where you're from. So idea and all is okay, but if you have good pedigree, that always helps. That doesn't mean that everybody should have a pedigree, but it always helps, right? So that is the first thing. Second thing is there are plenty of accelerators, incubators. It's just like exploding, right? So there's so many of them. Plenty of resources. If you're, I mean, it depends on the stage of life, your age group and all that, right? So if you're out of college and you're looking for getting a more structured approach towards starting up, then you should definitely give it a shot. Try to give it a shot. Go to the incubators, go to the accelerators and all that. That's more relevant. So what it will do is it will give a lot of shape to your thinking. It's like almost like what you call, they do a 12-week program, 16-week program. They'll give plenty of shape to your ideas. You will also get some like credits for Amazon or Google or whatever. Plus they'll give you some money. And at the end of it, it's like a fashion parade, right? So you just present your ideas. A lot of VCs come on the last day. You go get in front of them, and you also pitch. And if somebody likes it, then you get, they cut a check right away. It's like the Shark Tank round and all that. So all that happens. So it's always good to be associated with some kind of accelerator or incubator. But again, it depends on stage of life. I mean, if you're young and you can go, it's like almost like a school, right? You got to go sit there day in and day out. Most of them expect you to be there. Now there are remote accelerators and all that. Accelerators didn't work for me, but for certain people it does, right? It's very useful, right? If you're looking for structured thinking, definitely they are the best way to go actually. If you're looking for government resources, I especially the technology space and all, it's very hard to find money. You can get grants. I mean, it's like there's like oasis, there is some water there. It's very tough to get there actually. So it's very, very tough. I haven't, my experience, I don't know who gets that money. Probably some people do it, but it's not very easy, I mean, in my opinion. I think the best way to raise money, if you're looking for it, is angel investors, friends and family. That's the best way to do it. Of course, accelerators, but always be very careful. If you're dealing with institutional investors, you need to understand what term sheets are. There's a lot of legal on that. So you got to be very, very careful. Your best bet is to raise money from people who are not institutional investors in the beginning stages. Otherwise, you don't know what you're parting with. So you have to be very, very careful, especially if you're young. So that's my advice to a lot of people. So it depends, right? What you want to do. Entrepreneurship doesn't mean everything is a startup, right? You can run a company or you can do a startup. Startup is like doubling your valuation every year and then trying to do something big and all that. Not everybody gets through that trajectory. But running a company is more like fundamentals. So you make money, you make profits, you have a team, you grow year on year, you stand on your own legs. That's a different kind of thing altogether. So it depends on what your goals are, what you want to do and all that, how much hungry you are for capital, stuff like that.
Yeah, coming across one of your interviews for a magazine, Mr. Pradeep, you've quoted that the people's perception of domestically originated IP is very low in our country.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that you face issues in getting access to the B2B market in India.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you please elaborate on that and how what kind of expectations you have?
Yeah, so the thing is, say you develop something and you try to go to an Indian customer. Mostly, if you're in the technology space and you're trying to get the best way to raise money, I mean, you have to be first clear about which segment you are in. If you are B2B, then you have to sell to an enterprise. So what would they be looking for? I mean, how deep is your technology? Why are you able to build it, whereas they're not able to build it, right? That's the first decision they will do. And everybody will ask you for a POC. It's like a proof of concept, right? So, and they would ask for free samples, like do this for free for 6 weeks, we'll try it out. Or if your product is ready, why don't you give it to us? So you will end up doing too many POCs, or you would just end up, if you're in the hardware space, you have to do some technology plus some solution. So it ends up being a situation where in a few weeks, they would probably try to understand how you have done it and why can't they do it. In India, technology is available, plenty of technology is available. So you have to be so differentiated, so advanced, so that people are willing to pay you sustained money and have a contract for you. The best way to get money in a B2B scenario is you run it in a SaaS model, or you put it. I mean, hardware is very different. If you're in a software space, I would say don't go for package solution. It's very tough, so you can't make money in that. So how they evaluate your technology and how they pay you is very different, and it's very hard to get money from Indian customers. And even if it comes very late. So I mean, these are just learnings, right? You'll learn if you do the business, and it's not very easy to get good contracts and get the money out of Indian customers. It's very, very hard unless you have complete control over the solution, and you don't part with anything, and they have to use it again and again. Otherwise, it's very, very hard. They would try to find replacements for it, either in-house or through somebody else. It's very hard to sustain that. That's my experience.
Okay.
So maybe I want to add like 2 points there. I completely agree to maybe Pradeep's statement that the perception for the domestic IPs is actually very low. Okay, like even for our hardware products, I know that it was also very hard for us to initially go to Mountain View and say that this is a IP that I developed out of India, but this is in competition with some of the Stanford folks and all those things. Because in their mind, it is very clear that, yes, it is working, but it may be a jugaad, right? So that's the perception. I completely second to that, right? And I think, but that's changing. I completely agree that that's changing. Obviously, see, our country has a lot of like IT potential. If you see people going number of people going from here to the US to do all those programming and the computer science jobs is a lot, right? And I think I just didn't have any conversations further with those investors who kept on calling this technology as a jugaad because of the fact that it was developed out of India. If I would have been Stanford and I would say that, hey, I developed this technology which is solving something which is 20-year long-standing problem. Hey, and I've solved this problem either in Carnegie Mellon or Stanford. We should have got the money like this, right? But that's a perception, and I think, but that's changing. That's definitely changing. And to the second point of Pradeep, that it's hard to find or hard to get money out of Indian customers. I think I relate to that part to maybe a very logical problem, right? I think in India, of how we like to do business is not only related to the value prop of the product. It's not just the product, okay, or not just the technology. Even if you have like a great technology, okay, you may not be able to work with the Indian customers because there's another aspect which goes with Indian customers, which is personal, right? And because of that personal aspect, if I am a businessman in India, I like to do business when I am comfortable personally, right? And that's the reason why we all face this difficulty or challenges in getting money out of Indian customers. So obviously, to all the PG students, if your technology is something which you think is an Indian market, obviously you don't have to be demotivated with the fact that you will also get you will not get money from the Indian customers. You can certainly get it, but I think the point there is that you need to build that persona, the persona and the personal relationship as well with your customer, who will say that, okay, I trust maybe Arup, or I trust Pragyan, or I trust Shashwati when I'm doing a business with her, right? I think that's the aspect which goes into it, and there is a lot of weightage more than the weightage on the product. Okay, so like you buy something, right? If you are buying, let's say, an iPhone or a Redmi phone or something like that, right? If you have some personal touch, right now, obviously we don't have a personal touch with Apple, but if we have like a personal touch with someone, then it helps. And that's like Indian customers, they put more weightage on personal than just the product.
Yes. So to conclude for a final touch, I would like each of you to give a one-liner advice or or something that could act as a spur for our audience.
Okay. See, I think a lot of this discussion is centered around going the startup journey and raising funding and all that, right? So again, let me just say that not everybody has to take that path, right? It's not necessary for you to raise funding to do something. It's good to raise funding, but even if you do raise the funds, be very cautious and be very structured in that approach. The best way to get money is from your customers. That's the old school way of running a business, actually, right? So that's where the money has to come, and that's where it will keep coming, right? Once you have, see, whatever startup competition you go to, right? I know it was one line, but I have to just take 2 minutes to explain this, right? So whether it is the Wharton competition or whether it is the Let's Ignite or the largest VC competition, whatever it is, right? 1,000 startups apply, and maybe they screen the first, they bring it down to 100, and then they do the interviews, they bring it down to 20, and then they showcase 10, right? The first 1,000 to 100, how it happens is, are you making money? They look for that slide. Yeah, are there revenues? How much money are you making? Are you making profits? I mean, it's okay if you don't make profits, at least you should be making money. You can't just be in the lab and dream technology and expect to get funded. So the first thing to do is, like I keep saying, put the horse in front of the cart, try to make money, try to sell even before you build, actually, if it's possible, if at all. So you have to always look for validation in the market, get that money, and then you go to investors. Investors will chase you. You don't have to chase investors. If you're making money, people will line up and they'll tell you, you can see the magic, it just happens. That's how competitions are happening. The way they screen from 1,000 to 100 is based on that. 100 to 20 is also based on that. So if you're making money, you don't need more money at all. As long as you're profitable, if you're able to, like, unless you, why do you need money? If you need to scale, if you need to set up more operations, yes, you need money. Otherwise, the best way to do it is, like, try to be as independent as possible. And for scale, you can go raise money. That would be my advice to a lot of people. That's the Atmanirbhar that Modi says, but it's in a different way. Try to be as independent as possible if you can get down to that, because term sheets are very tricky. A lot of people at their young age, they won't even know what they're signing off on. So it's always better to be cautious with funding and how you go about the journey. That would be my advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's definitely an advice I would also say. But that's more like a business advice. I would say that's a personal advice. Is that I think as a research student, when it's your first company, first idea, and coming in from a technical background, I think there are only two things to win, right? And obviously, when as Pradeep said that you need to be winning the customer, but obviously you should have a best technology, but I think you should have more than that. You should have confidence and belief in what you're doing. Okay, if you are 300% confident, okay, then only your customers will get confidence on you. Okay, and if you are like, oh, maybe it will work, I'm not sure, maybe I'll get some money and then I'll try to, if you have even a delta of hesitation, I would say don't do it. Don't go to your customers. Until unless you're 300% sure about what you're doing, you're confident enough, okay, then only you can sell and you'll win your customer. Okay, it's like in Hindi we say that अगर आप अपने आप की कीमत एक X लगाओगे और अपने आप को confidence, if you have X, people will gonna discount you, right? So if you should have 300% confidence, so that customer has 100% confidence in you. Okay, this is gonna work. Okay, then you can win the customer, even if you are not ready. Like I've seen multiple times, like even if our product was not ready, but I just went ahead and then 100% this is the best product in the world. They just bought. Okay, so you need to be like very much confident and believing in what you're doing. You will definitely fail, okay, because that's the part of the journey. But even then, you should just believe in what you're doing. If you have a hesitation, go to the drawing board, try to solve why do you have that hesitation. Okay, or where are you uncomfortable? What answers you don't have right now? Okay, go to the drawing board and solve that. Once you're ready, then go to the customer. Okay, because otherwise you will be wasting everyone's time, and you will be losing your customers because you only get one chance with those customers. Okay, so maybe that's my advice.
Yeah. So the floor is now open to questions. In case the audience have any questions, you can either post it in the chat box or unmute your mics and ask either of the panelists.
I have a question. As you said, right, you had to go to US and sell your product because in India you didn't have that much of a market base. So there are two aspects. First is either when a startup grows, when a startup is there, you first go to search for a market and sell your product there. Or if you can't do that, you make a product, you make the market for your product. So so how do we have a trade-off between the two? Like, how do you decide what is more viable for you? And if you have to take the second option, how will you do it?
Okay, so see, I won't suggest, see, and I'm just taking it with the audience here. Okay, see, if I'm Mark Zuckerberg, if I have to create a market, I can do it. Okay, but for this audience, I won't suggest us to do, go and create a market, because we are not Modi who can create markets. Okay, so I would say there is no option for us to go and create a market at this stage. Okay, so there's only one option left, because see, we don't have money, right? When I say we mean all the people who are present in the call. We don't have money. Okay, we don't have a network. We just have a technology and a technology idea. Okay, why do you want to worry about creating a market? Okay, you have to be Modi, or you have to be Mr. Trump, or somebody to have some kind of a base to create the market. Yes, we have everyone have dreams. We can say that we can create that, but gone are those days when you could have Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg just like that. That's not practical unless you are kind of out of the box. So I won't say that's a logical step, because the equation is that an equation. What we need to understand is a very simple equation: problem in the market, innovation in the lab. That's it. Even in your first step, as you said that, hey, I have a product, I'm gonna look for the market. Okay, don't look for the market, look for the problem which can be solved by your technology. Okay, that should be the equation when we are going past our technology phase. What are the different problems in this world, right? Like when we build 360 3D camera, and we went ahead and we said, okay, let's start searching for the market. We actually built this camera for AR, VR, right? Augmented reality and virtual reality, because that was the idea when at least I did the research. But it was not a big market. It was nobody knew what the AR glasses are until Google launched, and then now Magic Leap, and there were some good companies. But even today, as we stand, there is no market of AR, VR. Okay, because you're not gonna earn money. So then we thought, okay, what are the different problems in this world which our technology can solve? Okay, so that's how we should go about it. That I think that's the equation, not the equation. Okay, I have a product, let's search. It's not you can't just search for a market by taking a tube light in your hand and say, okay, let's search what's there. But I think you need to look for talk to customers, talk to different fields, see where your technology can be applied, what areas could it be applied, right? And you'll see the magic then. So you need to have the equation right: problem in the market, and then how can I solve with the innovation in the lab. What do you think, Pradeep?
Absolutely, yes, right? So you cannot just sell on PPTs or technology. People don't buy technology. People buy solutions, actually. That's how, they may try you out. They may be, the first few conversations will go great. They'll be like wowed by your videos and the speech and everything. But then unless it solves their business problem, right? They're not going to give you money, right? Or, beyond 2-3 months, they'll just conversations will be great, and they'll say thank you for everything, and that's it, right? So the thing is, it has to solve problems ultimately. So technology has to be more focused. It's like sharpening your knife so that you can go cut something. Otherwise, it will just be like a blunt thing. You can't do anything with it. So you have to really like solve a problem. That's very important. So decide on the problem very clearly and see how many people are having this problem, or how big is the market and all that. And that's the way you should start thinking, especially if you're making a slide deck to go in front of investors. They will look for that kind of clarity in like the investment thesis has to be so strong. They make up their mind in like, that's why they call these elevator pitches and all that. The clarity of thinking, like Rajat also brought it up earlier, right? You need to be so clear in your mind about what you're solving. You should be able to like tell that in like 50 seconds or like in a minute or something. This is it, right? If you can't explain, if you're going to take too much time to wind and come back and tell what you're trying to do, people don't have time for that. And believe me. So it's good actually. The best way to find out if you have clarity in your problem solving is actually go in front of too many investors and see what is the level of interest they show. Right? They may rubbish you, but it's good actually. So you'll learn from that actually. That rubbish basically helps you give sharpness to your idea. The sharpening of knife will happen if you go in front of too many people. That's one way of like really learning. That's validation actually. So you have to go. Don't worry about, if I tell something, will people steal my technology and all that. It's there. Investors never sign NDAs, right? So they'll tell you, right, if you're to come and see my meeting schedule, like 10 people pitching next after you, right? So they will never sign any NDAs with you. They'll listen to you. They'll tell you if there is value. The way they talk to you, you will know the warmth with which they talk and all that. They'll say, thank you, good, and all that. So you need to solve a problem. And that's the most important thing. If you can't solve problems, people will not cut checks. It's impossible to make money. Whichever part of the world you are, right? It's you can't create markets unless like you are like what he said, like Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos or somebody who can enter a new market and flood the market and all that, or you're like what that Hyperloop guy and all that, right? Otherwise you can't like go do stuff on your own. You need too much money and clout, right? Thinking about normal people, you have to solve people's pain points. Otherwise,
right.
You can't get money.
Hope that answers your question, Maru. Any more questions? I guess we are done then. Okay. So that was indeed an insightful session. We thank you for sharing your opinions and views. We're sure that you're having a busy schedule. So thank you, Mr. Pradeep. Thank you, Mr. Rajat. Hope you enjoyed the session.
Yeah, thanks for having us here.
Yeah,
it was nice engaging with you.
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so, thank you everyone, and have a good evening. Yeah.
The match is on. I think CSK match coming up in the next 10 minutes or so.
Okay. It would be good if you can predict the probability of us entering the playoffs.
Right now it's very low. So I think this, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye guys.